Morning, everyone. I hope you've all managed to be enjoying the sun as we kind of enter the last couple of weeks of term. Today, I kind of wanted to talk about. I stumbled across this TED talk a couple of weeks ago, and it got me thinking about the word weird and how in society it's kind of deemed as negative to be calling people weird and stuff like that. But also, we've got to kind of accept that people are different. So I stumbled across this TED talk, and I kind of wanted to share it with you all today, and talk about it. And kind of at the end of this, we can hopefully some people can send me an email and we can kind of share opinions, because it is all opinion based, and my ideas may not be the same for others. So I am going to quickly share my screen. Right, here we go. Present. So the topic of it is called it's weird or just different. That's what the title of the TED talk is. And like I said, often in societies there's an opinion that being different is weird. But why is this the case, and should it be the case? And I kind of wanted to think about how these perspectives are formed, because being weird is deemed sometimes as a negative in society, but it shouldn't be that way. I think. So I've kind of looked at it as three influencing factors, which are all quite similar. With the first one being environment, upbringing, and personal experiences. So, for example, environment could be as simple as the kind of country you live in, and obviously every country has different opinions on things, and it could be as simple as weather. Like obviously we could look at Africa and go, it's weird how they can cope with being in 30 degrees heat all the time, whatever. We can imagine that. Vice versa, they could be looking at us in the UK thinking it's weird that they don't mind the cold, or I know none of us like the rain, but we're used to the rain, so it's not weird for us, but to them that would be weird. We also look at upbringing, and this is probably one of the biggest ones where unfortunately discrimination happens, because upbringing can link a lot to religion and stuff like that. What your parents believe in, some more often than not you will believe in. And unfortunately this is where people believe in different things. Well, that's not unfortunate, but people believe in different things, and that causes conflict sometimes, and people thinking that, oh, it's weird to believe that, why do they believe that? But it is just different, and that shouldn't be weird. And then finally, personal experiences. And obviously we all experience different things, and we'll build up schemes on situations, associate different things with different scenarios. Like, for example, in kind of the Western culture, we all think as when we greet people, we shake their hands, and that's the normal thing to do. But in different cultures, that may not be the way of them greeting each other. And I guess people do deem that as weird, but then we've got to ask the question, is it weird, or is it just different, and should we accept that? So I'm going to quickly show you this TED talk from Derek Sivers, who talks about it a lot better than I'm ever going to talk about it. So I'm going to quickly mute myself, and I'll show you the video.
So imagine you're standing on a street anywhere in America, and a Japanese man comes up to you and says, excuse me, what is the name of this block? And you say, I'm sorry, well, this is Oak Street, that's Elm Street. This is 26th, that's 27th. He says, okay, but what is the name of that block? You say, well, blocks don't have names. Streets have names. Blocks are just the unnamed spaces in between streets. He leaves a little confused and disappointed. So now imagine you're standing on a street anywhere in Japan. You turn to a person next to you and say, excuse me, what is the name of this street? And they say, oh, well, that's block 17 and this is block 16. And you say, okay, but what is the name of this street? And they say, well, streets don't have names. Blocks have names. Just look at Google Maps here. There's block 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. All of these blocks have names, and the streets are just the unnamed spaces in between the blocks. And you say, okay, then how do you know your home address? I said, well, easy. This is District 8. There's block 17, house number 1. They say, okay, but walking around the neighborhood, I noticed that the house numbers don't go in order. I said, of course they do. They go in the order in which they were built. The first house ever built on a block is house number 1. The second house ever built is house number 2. Third is house number 3. It's easy. It's obvious. So I love that sometimes we need to go to the opposite side of the world to realize assumptions we didn't even know we had, and realize that the opposite of them may also be true. So for example, there are doctors in China who believe that it's their job to keep you healthy. So any month you are healthy, you pay them. And when you're sick, you don't have to pay them because they failed at their job. They get rich when you're healthy, not sick. In, in most music, we think of the one as the downbeat, the beginning of the musical phrase. 1, 2, 3, 4. But in West African music, the one is thought of as the end of the phrase, like the period at the end of a sentence. So you can hear it not just in the phrasing, but the way they count off their music. 2, 3, 4, 1. And this map is also accurate. There's a saying that whatever true thing you can say about India, the opposite is also true. So let's never forget, whether at TED or anywhere else, that whatever brilliant ideas you have or hear, that the opposite may also be true. Domo arigatou gozaimashita.
So obviously that video kind of talks about how there's differences in the world, and maybe why do we have to go to different sides of the world to realize these differences? And how do I get off this? There we go. So what lessons can we learn from this? I'm sure you're all going to look at that and take different things away from it. But when I looked at that, I kind of thought about two things that we can take away from it that we maybe could do more of to help us understand that there's differences and accept these differences. So the first one was surrounding ourselves with diversity. And the first way of doing that is we need people who will challenge our assumptions. So obviously we'll build up our idea that maybe this way is the best way, and it's weird to not think that however you think's the only way. But you've got to surround yourself with people who will challenge these assumptions. So for example, a program that does that really well is, I'm sure people have stumbled across it, that they're like, the rich kids go poor, or the rich kids go on a poor holiday or whatever, or the house swap. And I think that's a really good way for both parties to realize what life on a different spectrum is kind of like. And these are challenging these people's assumptions that maybe being rich is the only way to be happy, which we all know it isn't true from them programs and stuff like that. So we need to surround ourselves with people who think differently and enjoy different things. So for example, on that program, there's going to be people who, the rich people are going to think, oh, the only way you can enjoy yourself is by going on a really extravagant holiday. But on the other hand, people that don't have the money to do that are equally as happy going to, I don't know, a camping site. And people may think that's weird if you're on a different spectrum, but why do we think that's weird? Why can't we just accept that is different? So then this kind of helps us see things with a different perspective and kind of build a better understanding of people's differences. So for example, that program, the aim is for them kind of rich kids to go home and realize that, you know what, you don't need to be spending thousands of pounds on designer clothes, because what does that actually make you feel like? Does that actually help you and benefit you in the future? So the first lesson I kind of took away from that I would kind of do if I was to help improve myself in this would be surrounding myself with diversity. And the second one would be kind of flipping it upside down. So looking at a situation that you kind of think's weird and look at it from a different angle. So for example, you've got to look at things we're familiar with a different perspective. And this helps you kind of this will help reduce discrimination long term if everyone can do it in an ideal world. So obviously the more times we think about stuff and build up an opinion, the more skewed other opinions come. So for example, Bukayo Saka here plays for Arsenal. He would have absolutely loved football growing up, and it's common that people that love football and are really sporty will maybe think people that really enjoy maths or science or DT are really weird. But is that the case? Because similarly, the mathematicians, scientists and all that are thinking maybe being a footballer is weird. But is it weird, or why can't we just accept that people are different, and why does this term weird have to be kind of used in that sense? So you've got to kind of, to help kind of people see this in a better light, you've got to look at things through a different lens. So for example, Bukayo Saka will talk to his friend who also likes football, and he'll agree with him and go on and go, yeah, why do people like this, that and the other? Why don't they like football? That's weird. But then Bukayo Saka may talk to his mum, and his mum might really enjoy, I don't know, knitting. And she may think that really loving football is weird. Or he may talk to his granddad who likes gardening, and he may think it's weird. So from now, you look at it through different lenses, and you've got to realise that everyone kind of enjoys different things. a teacher may not think that football's the coolest thing to do, and more importantly, other peers may not think it's the coolest thing to do. So we've got to kind of look at it through the lens of different people, and not judge that people doing different things, it's not weird. It's different, and we should accept that. So, and a key thing to kind of point on that note is, like, it doesn't have to change you. You don't have to change. Go, oh no, I don't want to. I want to now try maths. You don't have to now really love maths. You just have to kind of will help you understand and accept that, like, being different isn't weird. Because obviously we kind of all build up a perspective of our ways are the only ways, and I can't imagine myself enjoying anything else. For me, it might be rugby, and I couldn't have imagined myself enjoying anything else. But when I stopped rugby and I couldn't do rugby, I had to look at other things and find other things, and I've realised there's a lot more enjoyable things out there that I probably wouldn't have seen if I was still playing rugby. So I kind of want to leave you all with the thought today, with, when you use the term weird, what context have you used it in, and have you used it in the wrong context? Because I think a lot of the time we do use it as maybe an insult, and maybe we've just got to accept that being different is okay, and everyone's different. No one's the same, so that's not weird. So what's weird to one person may be not weird to another. So, but I'll be really interested in if people can kind of send through emails on their opinion on the TED Talk. Let me stop sharing. There we go. I'll be really interested in people sending through opinions on email at what they picked up from the TED Talk, any lessons they kind of got from the TED Talk, and we can kind of build an understanding of what the term weird actually means, or are we just happy with accepting that people are different? So I hope everyone has a really good day and kind of can take something away from that, and hopefully you can all push through to the end of term. Thank you.